welcome my friend who has come to us today to share with us one of the traditions of Hanukkah. So, if you will, Jocelyn.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jocelyn Benson, and I'm Jewish. And growing up, we had a tradition. The tradition began with my great-grandparents in Poland, Russia, and Germany. They all seem to have come together in the United States. And the reason what we do is we make latkes every Hanukkah, and we light a candle for 8 nights. What happened when the Maccabees took over the Jewish people in Israel, I'm going to be very brief because I don't explain it very well, but we got our temple back, and if anyone's Jewish and listening to this, please, I'm sorry. But anyway, we only had a little bit of oil, enough for 1 night. And we lit the oil in the temple, and it lasted 8 nights. So the tradition of lighting the candles, which my family does with oil, is to remember. Jewish tradition is all about remembering, except, of course, for the high holy holidays. So Latkes began way back when, and the reason we eat latkes is because potatoes grew from the ground, and there was plenty that you could do with them. And you never went hungry. Your children always had food. And we always incorporate oil into everything in Hanukkah. That's why we're all like this, because we have to remember. So when I was a child, this was my great-grandmother's grinder. And what they would do is they would take paper or a bowl, and I don't have an extra bowl, so I apologize. And they would stand like this. When I was a child, everybody ran from the house when it was time to make this, and my older brother and I got stuck doing it. However, if you had blood on your knuckles, you were making a good latkes. My Yiddish name is Yatke, and every year my family goes, "Can we come over for Yatke's latkes?" I've since been named in Hebrew, and I'm Yahakova. Yiddish is a language that was made up when there were no languages for the Jewish people. So they immigrated from Germany, from Russia, from Poland, and they put together this crazy language. So if you hear someone speaking German, you can understand them a little. And now most people use Hebrew, except for the Hasidim, they're still using Yiddish. And it's a very funny lost language, and I feel bad about that, but I'll get over it. Anyway, so we would sit here and we would scrub, and when you got down to your knuckles, you were ready to make it. And how we make it is, Jewish people don't measure, so don't ask me for perfect measurements. They say the standard, if you look it up and you Google it, it's five potatoes to 1 big onion and 3 eggs, please. You take potatoes, you throw them in, you put in as many onions as you want, and you're happy. If you like more onions, you put in more onions. If you like more potatoes, you put in more potatoes. It's that simple. But the idea is to get it to look like this. So nowadays, if you think I'm gonna stand and scrub it and get blood on my knuckles, you have another thing coming. This is a food processor. And what you're supposed to do is take a cheesecloth, and you're supposed to squeeze out all the ingredients. I don't do any of that. I'm your typical Jew. I just throw it in and I cook it. The next ingredients are 3 eggs, which of course I left in the refrigerator. So make believe I'm cracking 3 eggs. And then you say to your grandmother, how much matzah meal should I put in? You put in a bissel. You put in until you think it's right. That's how I grew up. So I go, okay, Grandma, is this enough? It's not enough. How could you keep it? How could that stay together? Okay, Grandma, is this enough? Mix it together, see how it feels. So my point here is that when you mix the egg and you mix all your ingredients together, which of course, again, I'm going to say, it's potatoes, onion, eggs, matzah meal, and of course, kosher salt. I couldn't find kosher salt. It doesn't matter. I got coarse salt. And you say to your grandmother, how much should I put in? You put in a bissel, you put in a little, it'll be good. But don't worry, we'll put in more at the table. So I'm gonna make believe I put a little in my hand and I'm seasoning it. To me, this is enough. I'm not supposed to have salt. We won't get into it, I'm old. Then you mix together and you take a spoon about this size, and of course it's put together in a patty, and you fry it in vegetable oil. Vegetable oil is very important because it doesn't change the taste of your latkes. There are lots of different variations now of latkes. Basically, it's a potato fry, that's it. I don't have vegetable oil, I prefer olive oil. And I use a spray, because the oil really is just for the pan. And I'm showing God and all my Jewish people that I'm using oil, so it really doesn't matter. And then you just fry each thing up. And then the most exciting thing is when you're a kid, is ripping apart all of the bags. Why? Because as you fry them, the bags absorb all the oil. So you don't have a soggy latke. So that's Yatke's latkes. I'm going to cook them up. I'm going to find the eggs. I'm going to mix it together. And then I'll show you a finished product. But don't wait for me to do this because I'm not doing it. Thank you. And we're back and we're done. And this is the end result from that small amount that I had shown you. And the reason they're on paper is because the paper absorbs the oil. For those of us that get tired and lazy, when you have leftover mix, you just throw the whole thing into a frying pan, put up the sides, make a crust, turn it over with a plate, and you have what's called a kugel, and you cut them in pies. What I did forget to tell you is when you do put them in the pan, you should take a spoon to press them down so the ends get very crispy. And of course, we had the kids try them and everyone tried them and there's not enough salt. My grandmother would be yelling at me now for not putting enough salt on. So you can just add salt. Most of the times, one part of the world they used, I think, don't quote me, but I think it was Germany that would use applesauce and you dip them in applesauce. And I believe the other end of town would use sour cream. I use both. I dip in this and I dip in that. And it's good anyway. Someone requested ketchup. Do your thing, just enjoy what you're doing and have a wonderful holiday and let the kids get involved because don't let them get, blood on their knuckles, but show them how you put it in a food processor. Enjoy the holiday and I'm honored to do this with my favorite people, the Reynolds. Thank you.